right. Time now for our weekly rants and waves, and Raves. Start with Dan.
I have a rave for Rupert Murdoch, of all people. And the reason I have a rave for old Rupert is that he is reportedly trying to acquire Time Warner, mainly for the sports programming, but as a consequence of purchasing Time Warner, if he's successful, he will end up with CNN. Now, follow the bouncing ball here. That's a direct competitor to his Fox News channel, and reportedly, in order to placate federal antitrust regulators, the first thing he would do is sell CNN. And I'm sorry, but CNN has just fallen into such disrepute at this point that I would love to see it in the hands of another owner, whether it's CBS or whoever, anything. So go Rupert.
All right.
Wow.
Callie.
I have a rant for the content that was produced by a recent survey by FAIR, which is a progressive organization that monitors the media.
Accuracy in media.
Yes, they did over several months, took a look at cable news specifically to look at who are the people who are on cable news, who are the people who are the hosts, who are the people most importantly who are the guests. And perhaps some won't be surprised that it's overwhelmingly white and male. Interestingly, Bill O'Reilly's show came up very equitable with women, but they were all the blonde women of Fox. But whatever, So what can you do? The show that came up to the top once again is Chris Hayes' show, which we did a piece months ago about his really taking an activist role in his advocacy journalism, I guess, to say, I'm going to be very clear about who the guests are at my table to make sure I have a diverse panel of across all boundaries, and he's done that. I'm kind of interested why Melissa Harris Perry's show was not included in this, because that would be interesting. She's an African-American woman on cable as well. Also interesting is that Rachel Maddow, who I think everybody would know as a very progressive host on MSNBC, had really low numbers in terms of diversity, both with men and even with women. So it's kind of interesting.
So is that a rant or a rave?
It's a rant for the content of what's happening on cable.
Got it.
Yes.
All right, Josh.
Yes.
Ryan Block is a technology journalist, and he is, being a technology journalist, knows more than I think most people do about the process of getting internet access. He is one of the relatively few people in America who had a choice about where to get his broadband internet from. And so he had Comcast, he called Comcast to cancel, and this is what happened.
I'm just trying to figure out here what it is about Comcast service that you're not liking, that you're not wanting to keep. I mean, why is it that you don't want to keep that service?
This phone call is a really actually amazing representative example of why I don't want to stay with Comcast. So can you please cancel our service?
This was an 18-minute long call that he was on, just trying to cancel his service, and he, like a lot of people who would try to do that, got sent to the department that's in charge of making sure that you don't cancel your service. Much of their goal is to frustrate you so much that you just hang up in a rage and therefore keep getting bills every month. You know, it sort of aligns a bit with Dan's rave for Rupert, in that when you have these large companies that are seeking mergers, everyone's trying to control the few pipes and the few content companies that are big that are going to be left. Comcast and Time Warner Cable are interested in merging. The less competition we have, the easier it is for someone like Comcast to do something as dastardly as this. And I hope our regulators pay attention to that.
I wish he would call me to get and record my phone calls with Comcast. Oh, for God's sake, those people.
We will.
This guy was great. I mean, this customer service rep was insane.
He knew he was being recorded. Anyway, go ahead.
So my rant is for another Russia Today correspondent has quit sort of in dramatic fashion. This is Sarah Firth. She's a London-based correspondent. And I just think these like sudden dramatic, quittings are so hypocritical, because she's been there since 2009. So she's been totally fine collecting this Kremlin paycheck for 5 years. But suddenly she's like, the coverage of the Malaysia Airlines disaster, the second disaster is I just can't stand it anymore. And I'm sort of like, maybe you should just be ashamed that you took the money for so long, rather than wanting me. Yeah, it's Russia Today is owned or backed financially by the Kremlin. So it's like, I'm not going to give you a round of applause for doing the thing you probably shouldn't have done in the first place.
If that crossed the line, you kind of wonder where the line was.
Right, I know, right? The line
Right.
is like, right.
All right, I have a rave for NPR because about a week ago they decided they were going to hire a new ombudsman, and they're going to kind of dial back the duties, and they weren't going to allow any judgment or commentary, which is what all their fantastic ombudsmen over the years have done, including Alicia Shepard. I mean, some really sharp, acerbic, and really to the point stuff. So this week, the NPR president, Carl Jarl Mohn, reversed himself and said that that language would be taken out of the job description, and the new ombudsman wouldn't be allowed to do judgment and commentary, because that's what being an ombudsman is all about.
You should say that those words were in bold.
Yeah,
and Jay Rosen pointed it out.
Yeah.
And also, some other executives of NPR thought it was perfectly fine.
Oh,
so,
I'm sure.
so just
Took
right.
public shaming, yeah.
Yes, it did.